Now, you're all in business, most of you, and you want new markets and you want sustainable growth. But you also want to embrace new thinking. We talked about that mindset shift yesterday and today. So let's introduce a new speaker, a very deep thinker, a very energetic thinker, an author, a thought leader, whose ideas on leadership that inspires action have captivated people all over the world. He is, and I'm delighted to say this because I am too, an unshakable optimist. He always believes the glass is half full. How many of you believe the glass is half full? If you do, say aye. If you don't, say nay. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it. I should be a speaker of the house, shouldn't I? Here. Order, stop, order, order. Okay, and after you hear him, we know you'll be lining up for his book. There'll be a book signing promptly at the end of the program, especially once you hear that the first 90 people in line will receive a free copy. And I can see you all getting ready. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Simon Sinek. Simon, please, come over here. Fantastic, yeah.
Thanks. So, a few years ago, The Economist ran one of their special sections, one of their big special sections they have in the middle of the magazine, that made the case for the decline of innovation in the world. And it made a very compelling case for this decline of innovation. Amongst other factors, they counted the number of patents that have been filed, and the ones that have been filed are not as impactful as old ones used to be, et cetera, et cetera. And then they attempted to explain why there's been this decline of innovation in the world. And they touched on multiple factors, including things like the internet and globalization. And I was amazed that not a single word mentioned human beings. And so my question is, who's coming up with all the ideas? And so we talk about things like innovation, we talk about things like sustainability, as if they're going to happen by themselves. My interest is the people component, which is how do we actually get people, how do we actually inspire people to act towards the thing we need to get done, the thing that we know that needs to get done. Well, we're social animals. Homo sapien, human beings are social animals, and we respond to the environments we're in. You can take a good person and put them in a bad environment, and they're capable of doing bad things. Likewise, you can take a person who may have performed bad acts, maybe is considered untrustworthy by the group, and if you put them in a good environment, they're capable of turning their lives around and becoming remarkable and productive members of society. In other words, it's not just about telling people what we need to get done, it's about creating an environment in which trust and cooperation can thrive. The problem is, the concepts of trust and cooperation are feelings. They are not instructions. I cannot order you to trust me. Doesn't work. I cannot tell two people that they have to cooperate. Doesn't work that way. Cooperation is a feeling. It's that feeling that I can give somebody something to do and trust that they will work to the best of their capability and I don't have to double check their work. And it's also the feeling that I can turn my back and trust that someone won't stab me. These feelings are born directly out of the environment in which we're in. Is that popping just me or is that everybody? I don't know what it is. Cool. I'm sure someone's going to run out here in a moment and give me a microphone. Anyway, the point is we respond to the environment we're in, and trust and cooperation are born directly out of that environment. Now, why is trust and cooperation important? As social animals, we depend on each other. If you go back to the dawn of man 50,000 years ago, the Paleolithic era, we lived in tribes, and we had to rely on each other to stay safe, thrive, and survive in the world. By trusting each other, it meant that I can fall asleep at night and trust that someone else will watch for danger. If I don't trust you, it means I can't fall asleep at night. Bad system. Now the problem is as I said, trust and cooperation are feelings, and those feelings are born out of the environment. If you get the environment right, trust and cooperation are the result. If you get the environment wrong, Cynicism, paranoia, mistrust, and self-interest thrive. Thank you very much. We're good. See, we can rely on each other so that things go better. I'm just hoping that my chain of thought doesn't break. So you can just imagine what life must have been like in these Paleolithic times. It was a world filled with danger. It was a world filled with all of these forces that were working very, very hard to kill us. Nothing personal, it's just the way it was. Whether it was lack of resources, whether it was bad weather, whether it was a wild animal, whatever it was. And so we evolved into these animals where we lived and worked amongst others around whom we felt safe. And when we felt safe amongst our own, the natural human reaction is trust and cooperation. When we do not feel safe amongst our own, the natural human reaction is cynicism, paranoia, mistrust, and self-interest. Nothing has changed in our modern day and age. The world is still filled with unpredictable dangers. Sometimes it's the threat of violence. Sometimes it's the uncertainty of an economy, the unpredictability of a stock market. Sometimes it's competitive forces that are trying to put you out of business or steal your business, or sometimes they just don't care about your priorities and they're doing their own thing. We have no control over any of these factors. The only variable are the conditions inside an organization. And that's why we have leaders. Because leaders set the conditions. Get the conditions right and people will come together to advance the common good. Get the conditions wrong and people will use their time and energy to protect themselves from their own organization. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I was witness to a scene that played out right in front of me in an airport, where one of the passengers attempted to board the aircraft before their group number was called, which everybody here knows is a crime, right? And that's exactly how the gate agent treated him. "Step aside, sir. I haven't called your group. Please step aside and wait until I call your group," is exactly how she talked to him. And so I spoke up. I said, "Why do you have to talk to us that way? Why can't you talk to us like we're human beings?" And she looked me in the eye and said, "If I don't follow the rules, I could get in trouble or lose my job." All she revealed to me is that she does not feel safe in her own organization, and she does not feel that her own leaders trust her to do the job that she's been trained to do. And guess who suffers? Company and customer. The reason we love flying Southwest Airlines, for example, is not because they have some magical formula to hire nice people. It's because the people who work there feel safe in their own organizations, and their leaders trust them to do the job that they've been trained to do. And guess who benefits? Customer and company. In other words, it's not the people, it's the leaders. Just a few weeks ago, I stayed at the Four Seasons in Las Vegas. It's a wonderful hotel, and the reason it's a wonderful hotel is not because of the comfy beds. Any hotel can buy comfy beds. The reason it's a wonderful hotel is because of the people who work there and how they made me feel. They have a little coffee stand in the foyer, and so one afternoon I was buying myself a cup of coffee, and the barista, a man by the name of Noah, was helping me. And I gotta tell you, this guy was wonderful. He was funny, he was engaging, he was curious about me. He was wonderful. I could have stood there all day and talked to him. And it was because of him that I love this hotel and how he made me feel when I was just buying a cup of coffee. So I asked him, "Do you like your job?" And he said to me, "I love my job." And I said to him, what are the things that the Four Seasons is doing that you would say to me, "I love my job"? He said to me, throughout the day, managers will walk past me and ask me, "How are you doing? Is there anything I can get you to help you do your job?" He says, "I feel so taken care of, I feel I can be myself here." Now, he went on to say, and this was magical for me as somebody who studies this stuff, he says, "I also work at Caesar's Palace." He says at Caesar's Palace, the managers walk past and make sure I'm doing everything right and will yell at us if we do anything wrong. He says, "There, I just keep my head under the radar. There, I just want to get through the day and I don't want to get in trouble and I'm just working for a paycheck." Same person. And yet the behavior is completely different, not because of him, but because of the leadership and the environment in which the leaders create. Get the environment right. Trust and cooperation and absolute devotion to the cause is what you get. Get the environment wrong. Cynicism, paranoia, mistrust, and self-interest is the behavior you will get, and a preoccupation with taking care of yourself and not the cause that you've been asked to advance. If you work in an organization where it is standard practice for people to feel the need to send an email to everybody after any decision they make, just in case, that is a sign that they feel the need to take time and energy out of their day away from advancing the cause in order to protect themselves from their own company. That's what that is. If you work in an organization where people feel the need to keep a folder of all the good things they've done in their careers just in case they need it, nervous laughter? That is a sign that people feel they need to take time and energy out of their day away from doing their jobs in order to protect themselves from their own leaders. In other words, what's going to help us advance this cause, what's going to help us advance all of these things that we have pretty logos for on the stage, isn't the simple articulation of the things that we need to get done. It's the creation of corporate environments, corporate cultures in which the people feel safe amongst their own, in which they feel that their leaders have their backs, so that they will commit all of their time and all of their energy to doing all of these things. If we do not do those things, no matter how wonderful these things are, they will take time and energy out of their day simply to protect themselves from their organization, because if you're not going to help them feel safe, they have no choice but to make themselves feel safe. We do not teach leadership. Leadership is a skill like any other. When someone is junior in their career, we give them lots and lots and lots of training on how to do their job. Some even go and get advanced degrees on how to do their jobs. Whether you're a doctor or an engineer or a banker or an accountant, whatever it is, right? And if you're really good at your job, they'll promote you. And eventually, you get promoted to a position where you're now responsible for the people who do the job you used to do, but nobody teaches us how to do that. We have to go through this transition. When we're very junior, our basic responsibility is to take care of our jobs. And then as we become more senior, we have to go through this transition. Some make it slowly, some make it quickly, and some never make it at all, where we are now no longer responsible for the job. We're no longer responsible for the results. We now become responsible for the people who are responsible for the results. It's an entirely new skill set. But because we don't teach it, this is the reason we get managers instead of leaders. It's as if we put somebody in front of a machine and demanded results, but we never showed them how to work the machine. And all it does is breed insecurity, uncertainty, fear, and the feelings, even in our own leadership, that they don't feel protected. And they have to worry about themselves. And so many leaders spend most of their time lying, hiding, and faking that they actually have everything under control. I love talking to CEOs and saying, "What's your priority?" And they say to me, "My number one priority is my customer." I'm like, "Really? You haven't talked to a customer in 10 years. Your responsibility is the people who are responsible for the customer." I love talking to leaders of organizations, and they love to tell me how they're responsible for the results. No, you're not. You're responsible for the people who are responsible for the results. And when the people feel that their leaders have their interest in mind, they will respond with blood and sweat and tears, do anything, and they will sacrifice to advance the common good. If they feel that their leaders have their own interests in mind, then they will do the things necessary to protect themselves from their leaders at the cost of the cause or the purpose or the vision. Trust is a feeling born out of the environment in which we operate, and that environment is set by the leaders. Now, this is an anthropological construct. This is not my definition, I get a kick out of the fact that we don't really have a standard definition for leadership. People talk about, I want to be a good leader, I want to strive to become a leader, and yet, what does that even mean? Does it mean that you're in charge? Does it mean that you make all the decisions? What's this concept of servant leadership? We're not even agreeing on what the definition is. There's actually an objective anthropological definition. For 40,000 of the 50,000 years that we have lived on this planet, we lived in populations that were rarely bigger than about 150 people. It was only 10,000 years ago when we started farming were we able to maintain enough resources to sustain larger populations. But prior to that, 150 was about the max. This still has some inherent challenges. These are austere conditions. We're hungry. Somebody brings food back to the tribe, dumps it on the ground. We all rush in to eat. If you're lucky enough to be built like a rugby player, you can shove your way to the front of the line. If you're the artist of the family, you get an elbow in the face. Bad system. Because the odds are that if you punched me in the face this afternoon, I'm probably not going to wake you and alert you to danger tonight. Bad system. And so we evolved into hierarchical animals. We're constantly assessing and judging each other who's more senior in the social hierarchy. And when we assess that someone is alpha to us, that they're more senior in the social hierarchy, we voluntarily step back and allow our alphas to eat first. So alphas get first choice of meat and first choice of mate. And though I may not get to eat first, I'm guaranteed food and I don't get an elbow in the face. Good system. Nothing has changed in our modern day and age. We are still constantly assessing and judging each other, trying to determine who's more senior, who's above us in the social hierarchy. Sometimes that system is formal. Inside organizations, we tend to have formal hierarchies. We know that an executive vice president is more senior than a vice president. We know that I'm entry level and I have nothing, right? And so we adjust our behavior accordingly. We show excessive amounts of deference to people who are more senior. We call them sir and ma'am. We hold doors open for them. We get them tea and coffee without even asking. They get bigger offices. It's wonderful. That's why no one's ever turned down a promotion, because you get more stuff, right? Not a single person in this room has a moral disposition or is offended by the fact that somebody more senior than you gets preferential treatment. I can prove it. Not a single person in this room is morally offended by the idea that somebody more senior than you in the organization makes a higher salary. You may think they're completely ineffective in their job, but the fact that they are more senior, they get a higher salary, bothers no one. We're comfortable giving preferential treatment to our alphas. And the preferential treatment can sometimes be quite ridiculous. If you're senior and you left your jacket in the other room, someone will go get your jacket for you. If you're junior and you left your jacket in the other room, you go get your own jacket. It's good to be the king, right? However, the group is not stupid. We do not give all of these advantages and all of these preferences and all of these perks to our alphas for nothing. There is an underlying, deep-seated social contract. You see, the group expects that when danger threatens the tribe, that it's the person who's actually stronger, actually smarter, actually better fed, actually has more self-confidence, who will rush towards the danger to protect us. That's why we gave you first choice of mate, because you might die and we want to keep your genes in the gene pool. We're not stupid. This is the moral responsibility of a leader. Leaders, by the very definition, are the ones who are willing to sacrifice their interests to save the lives of the people in their tribe. Great leaders would never sacrifice the people to save the numbers. Great leaders sacrifice the numbers to save the people. This is why we are so viscerally offended by some of the banking CEOs and their disproportionate salaries and bonus structures. It has nothing to do with the amount of money they take. We're perfectly comfortable with our alphas being paid more and being given vast amounts of preferential treatment. The reason we're offended is because they have violated the definition of what it means to be a leader. We know that they allowed their people to be sacrificed so they could keep their bonuses and salaries. Or worse, they chose to sacrifice their people so they could keep their bonuses and salaries. And this is what so viscerally and morally offends us. It's not the money. What if I told you we're going to give a $150 million bonus to Nelson Mandela? Does anyone have a problem with that? No? How about a $200 million bonus to Mother Teresa? Got an issue with that? No. It's not the money. It's the absolute confidence that we know that those people would easily sacrifice their interests to take care of those around them, and they would never sacrifice those around them to take care of themselves. And this is why we're not only proud that they get those perks, but we will offer our own blood, sweat, and tears to advance their vision. If we suspect for a moment, however, that our leaders would sacrifice us to protect themselves, make them look good, advance their own careers, line their pockets, whatever it is, we will work excessively hard to build very high walls and protect ourselves from our own leaders. Do that, no matter how noble the organization's stated cause or purpose, nothing will get done. Nothing will get done. Innovation requires experimentation, and experimentation requires failure. And if I do not feel that I can fail safely, that if I trip over, that someone will look at me and say, try again, I'm not going to try. If you're a trapeze artist, why would you ever try a new trick without a safety net? You'll do the minimum, you'll do the basics. And this is the problem. Just enough to get by, like my friend Noah working at Caesar's Palace. He does just enough to get by, just enough not to get in trouble, just enough that no one can really complain about his performance. But he never goes above and beyond. And as he said in his own words to me, I can never be myself. If you're going to hire idealists to advance an ideal cause, you better take care of them. You better commit yourself to taking care of the people inside of the organization so that the people inside the organization can take care of the cause we're trying to advance. And if we ask them, why are you giving such blood and sweat and tears? Why would you bother sacrificing for that person or this cause? They will look you in the eye and say, because you would do it for me. That's what it's all about. Get the people thing right, and we will change the world. Get the people thing wrong, and we'll continue to have conferences talking about the importance of these things, and yet advance very little. The power is ours. Be the leader you wish you had. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, Simon. It's great. Fantastic, man. Nice one. Yeah? Come on, man. Simon Sinek, come on, keep it going. That was great. Great stuff. Nice one, Simon. Simon, that's for you. Come on, take a bow, take a bow. That was great, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Brilliant. It's great.